difficult for you. You need to know what is point A. Here's where I am right now. Here's point B where I want to go. My goals are at point B. I want to go from A to B. What's missing between A and B is that synchronization of energy. I need to know what is point B giving me. 3 layers: having, doing, and being. Being is all about feeling. How do you feel when you get to point B? How is that going to make you feel? I'm going to be a lot more relaxed. I'm going to be happier. I'm going to be more excited. I'm going to be more at peace. I'm going to be able to be more open to the people I love and share more love with the people around me. So I'm going to gain love and I'm going to gain better relationships, etc. Okay, great. Let's go into it. Let's keep going. What else are you getting? Okay, I'm going to be able to do this and have that. And now you're writing all these things down and now you have some feelings. Some feelings are rising out of that. And these feelings should give you an indication, it's like a point of view. It's a point, it's for you need to reflect on these feelings and say, okay, here's what it feels like to be over there at point B. But what's missing right now is that I'm not there yet. So therefore I lack the being, doing, and having of point B. And I need to gain those. So the first thing you got to have is a clear picture. What are you going after? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And then the next question is, do you know what to do now? What do you need to do right now in order to become point B? In order to go to point B, do you know what you need to do right now? So, by the way, guys, doing is not just something you do with your hands and feet. Doing is also something that you do inside of yourself. For example, I'm going to start working on myself to be more patient. Because if you really want to become more successful, you need to understand that slow and steady wins the race. Even in real estate, in life, in everything. Everything you're trying to achieve, slow and steady wins the race. Doesn't mean that you're not going to do anything and slowly become successful. Slow and steady means you got to know what needs to be done, and then you need to understand that it's not going to happen overnight. So you're not looking for an overnight success. You understand that it's going to take 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. You know that point B is not going to happen tomorrow. Point B is something bigger than where you are right now. If you want to become bigger, be able to make more money, have better people around you, surround yourself with better energies, be happier, be more prosperous, you got to do a lot of stuff. And, the majority of the work that needs to be done is between you and yourself. Me, myself, and I. I go to the mirror every time I have a problem, asking myself, what's my fault in this situation? Because I always have a fault in a situation that's happening in my life. Yeah, I understand the other person did this to me. Yeah, I understand all this. You can always point the finger. But if I point the finger on the other person, I'm also giving the other person power over how I feel right now. I'm giving them the power. If I go to the mirror and I point at myself and I say, you did something wrong that caused that person to do what he did to you. Or maybe he did it to you to teach you something. Or you need to make excuses for them so that you can look at yourself and understand what you're doing wrong. It's not about the other person. It's always about you. So you got to change something inside of yourself before the outside, the circumstance in your life can come to you. You're trying to align with a different level of success. You're trying to align with someone who makes more money than you. If you're making 200,000 and telling me, Ron, I want to go to 500,000. I say, great. What brought you to 200 is not what's going to bring you to 5. What brings you to 150,000 a year is not what's going to bring you to 800,000 or 1,000,000 too. You got to become a different person. You got to stop reacting to situations, get pissed off, and lose yourself. You got to have more self-control. You need to have more faith in yourself. And you need to have more clearance about who you need to become as a person before you can align with the income and the good things that come with it. By the way, also, the more money you want to make, the more you need to be open to take more responsibility for things in your life and for people around you. If you want to be this rich person that made all this money and he's sitting somewhere in a beautiful property, overlooking whatever it is you like to look at, alone, by yourself, it's not going to bring you the state of being that you spoke about before, that you want to be happy and be loved and all these different things. So you got to understand what is why you're trying to achieve more success. You really need to go deep and understand why you want to achieve more success. It's not just about the zero. It's about how you're going to feel when you're there. It's about the things you can have that you don't have right now and what that's going to make you feel. And it's the things you could do that you can't do right now and what these things are going to make you feel as well. So at the end of the day, it's all about state of being. And then the secret is really, I'm going to tie up everything we spoke about. The secret is I take everything I just told you and I put it in one thing. You need to learn how to synchronize, mimic, mirror the feelings of what you're trying to feel like at point B. Ran, I want to go from point A to point B. Point B means I'm making another zero. So last year I made 225,000. I want to make 2.25 million. Great. What's that going to do to you when you're there? I don't know. Contemplate and come back next week. Let's talk about it. Take a week. Sit with yourself. Contemplate the thoughts. Try to imagine yourself. Visualize yourself. Try to make some feelings rise and see how you feel about it. By the way, don't think you're going to have the same responsibilities, because when you make 2.2 and you make 220, you're going to have a lot more, 10 times more responsibilities on your plate. You need to be able to welcome these problems and challenges and more people and more. It's going to demand more of you. You can't give of yourself X at 200 and then expect keep giving X and I'll get 2 million. You can't. It doesn't work. It doesn't synchronize. It's imaginary. You're living in an imaginary state of being. You need to be realistic. You got to be feet on the ground. If you want to make more, you got to give more. If you want to become more, you need to work on yourself to become more. It's a state of being. It's not always what I do. Everybody that shows up to training events and coaching, it's all about doing. What do I need to do? What do I need to do, Ran? What do I need to do? Wait a second. You've been doing some stuff for a long time, but you're not really successful yet, right? Why? I speak with two agents right now. There's two agents in an office that I'm working with, the same office in New York. Both of them work in the same office. Both of them show up every day at the same time, working together like like colleagues they're doing role playing together. Everything's together. Each of them makes about 20, 25 contacts every day, calling more or less the same type of leads for sale by owners, expired, etc. Using the same script, doing it the same amount of time every day. One is a lot more successful than the other. What's the situation here? What's going on? Why one person who does exactly the same as what you do is becoming a lot more successful than you? What's missing? What's going on? That is the biggest question I think people ask. I'm doing already, but I know that I can be more. I see someone else is doing even less, but they're making more. What's up with that? So at the end of the day, you got to look at yourself and you got to think about, how do you feel right now? Maybe the other person is a little bit more excited than you. Maybe the other person thinks less negative than you. Maybe the other person has better people around them. Maybe the other person has someone maybe the other person is stronger than you. They take criticism in a nice, positive way. Maybe you don't take criticism well, which is your ego. Maybe your ego is bigger than what it should be. By the way, people are very successful at high levels. I'm not talking about everybody, but a lot of people who achieve success they get there because they're humble. It might sound funny to you because there's a lot of people at the top that are not very humble. But when you get to know people that are really successful and they stay humble, you will see that they're going to gain a lot more zeros at the end of the number than the other person who thinks me, myself, and I did everything myself. So you got to look at yourself. You got to align with a successful person, the better version of you. You need to align with that person. So you got to do this, self-check. Are you patient enough? You need to ask yourself that question. Am I patient enough? Am I willing to go the extra mile? Am I going the extra mile? Do I get frustrated fast? What are the things that make me angry? Can I make different decisions to get rid of the anger and behave in a different way? Start responding instead of reacting to what's happening to me. And on and on and on and on. It's a long journey. Going from point A to point B is a long journey. So I'm going to ask you guys two questions. You ask, just try to answer those two questions. Take everything I told you as homework. Just contemplate on these thoughts and try to understand what it means to go from point A to point B. Try to understand what it means that you cannot go to point B unless you're synchronized energy-wise. How you feel, your state of being need to synchronize with the better version of yourself. What does it look like? You understand? If you're an angry person, everybody's pissing you off, and you get ticked off very quickly, okay? That person is not going to add a 0 at the end of the check because he's going to repel a lot more people. So you got to become someone else. Who's going to do this work? Well, the people around me should stop pissing me off so much. Okay. So that victimhood is not going to help you, right, to go to point B. So you need to go to the mirror. Remember something. Every problem in your life is always you. Stop blaming and look in the mirror. Every single problem in your life. Everybody right now is going through some hard time. Everyone I know right now is going through some very hard challenges in their lives. If it's financial, or maybe it's with their relationships with family members, sickness, God forbid. I mean, you name it. There's troubles and problems from here to the end of the world. Everybody has issues. But our job is not to look for someone else to save us. Our job is to go to a mirror, look at ourselves. What did I do wrong? What do I continue to do that works against me? What are the things in me that I need to start fixing about my character? What is it about myself that I need to start fixing? Maybe my ego is too big. Maybe I think that what I achieved so far is me and it's not you, because I believe that everything that you have, do, or be is given to you if you are synchronized. Blessing is always here. There's an abundance of blessing, and there is also an abundance of the other side of blessing. Which side you synchronize with is going to tell you what you're actually getting. The circumstance in your life right now is your synchronization, your ability to synchronize with abundance or with the lack of it. Prosperity and abundance are two sides of the same energy. The energy is here. You can just plug more into it. Now, let's put that aside. Two questions. Do you know what to do right now to become more successful? That's question number one. Do you know what to do now? Talking about doing, like action right now, this morning, tomorrow morning, okay? Today's Tuesday. I'm talking about action today, action on Wednesday, action on Thursday, Friday, and then action next week, and action. Do you know what you need to do in order to become more successful in the business? And now it's your turn. Tell me if you know what to do, and tell me what it is that you need to do. I can ask the question in a different way. What do you need to do more of that you know that if you did more of that, you will become more successful? What is that?
More conversation, just talking to a lot more people.
Great.
More real estate related activities, and just the biggest thing with me is just blocking out the time to make sure that I stay on course and not let anyone else distract me from, what the end goal is. So whether that being staying in the office for 2 hours and making my phone calls, or making sure I follow up on, past business, current business, and things like that. But it's simple. More conversations lead to more leads. So,
Okay, so let me take your example. It's perfect because I believe that everybody else on the call feels exactly the same. Each of us can add a little bit more. Someone has something else to add that is different than that, or maybe similar, but maybe a different activity. What else needs to be done that if you did more of it, you'll become more successful?
I would say follow-up.
Yeah.
Follow-ups. I mean, I think I'm generally pretty good at follow-ups. It's been key to my business. However, sometimes you get distracted by other things, and you wait too long to engage someone, and they might lose interest or start talking to another agent or things like that. I mean, last year alone, I can say I would have had maybe 3 more deals had I been more diligent. My follow-up, like my follow-up is good, but every ounce that I add to it is valuable. Could have, 3 deals is a lot of money.
Is that?
I will add to that what you guys said, and plus integrate some mailing, consistent mailing, postcards, or handwritten notes. I know if I do that, my business will go to another level.
Fantastic. Selena, what you got? Roy?
I think overcome after we move the distraction, after we commit to a number of calls every day, it's also maintaining overcoming the rejection, overcoming either rejection from the person that we talk to, or probably the seller most of the time, or the situation where, like Elvis said, with the follow-up, if you are too pushy, you sounds like a car dealer, and it's more about getting the listing than helping the person. If you are too timid and quiet and trying to help and build the relationship and nurturing the relationship slowly, someone else snap it. The house is in zero within 1 week, and then you ask why he got the listing and I didn't. So, or why this guy, yes, we can control everything, but I think overcome the rejection.
Overcoming fear of rejection is what you're saying.
Yeah, like the power of like straightening this muscle of like moving on, like forward. Versus, oh my God,
Developing a
I
thicker
met this
skin, yes.
person, I've been there, and someone else took this deal,
We can do an entire session about that, and we will as we go along. We'll talk about this. Is a very important subject, by the way. Selena?
Everything that everyone said, since the follow-up, having a schedule, like Will was saying, that just go into the office for a couple of hours and block that time to call people, more conversations. And that's something that worked for me in the past. And I'm committed to doing more conversations, more face-to-face, like connecting with people, like on a weekly basis. At least on a weekly basis, not just giving them a call and say, hey, I'm here if you know anybody to sell or buy a house. I need to stay more in front of people and realize from them, what do you need that I can help you with?
Okay.
We need.
I want to show you something.
Okay.
First of all, thanks for sharing. I want to show you something that's happening right now. It's very important. We're talking about 3 levels of action. There is changes we got to make: doing, having, and being. Everything you guys spoke about, except Roy, everyone else spoke about doing. I got to do better follow-up. I got to do more follow-up. I got to talking to more people. I got to do more consistent mailing. I got to do more, Roy mentioned something that is more state of being work. So yes, the answer is yes for everything you guys mentioned so far. And it can also be that some having is also missing. Like I need to have an assistant. For example, Lisette, without an assistant,
I was gonna say,
you're
don't
not
mention.
going. You're not going because you need to have, look at me, you need to have an assistant so that you can delegate. Otherwise, you see, so that's having. So yeah, you also need to have stuff. You need to have maybe, look, for me, when I prospect, I like to look exactly like Wilfredo looks right now. I got my earpiece over here. I put it on and I go on the phone and I'm completely disconnected. I gotta have it. I gotta have this. I gotta have it. Why do I need to have it? Because when I call on a speakerphone, I don't feel the same. I gotta have it. So I'm going to go get it. Question is, point A to point B, what is missing that you need to do, have, and become? Now, I like what Roy spoke about because that's the real hard work. Developing a thicker skin, pushing aside emotions. By the way, when you're calling a for sale by owner, a for sale by owner came on the list today. Everybody has Land Voice, or they have how do you call the other service? Red-X. Everybody has those stuff. So everybody basically is chasing the same leads. Great. There are 10 agents that are going to call the same FISBO this morning. You're calling them. You got to think about it logically. This business, by the way, people who work in our business that use less emotions and more logic find it easier to focus on the numbers game. People who are more emotional in our business, that are more, for example, the DISC profile, people that are more in the center of the I, the S, which is all about emotions and how it feels, they tend not to like so much rejection. I'm a driver, analytical. I don't care about rejection. You want to reject me? It's okay. I have no problem with that. I'm going to move to the next person. Doesn't touch me, but it's touching you. So you need to ask yourself, okay, go to the mirror and ask yourself how, and by the way, most people have a fear of rejection, or they feel uncomfortable being rejected. I know Wilfredo feels that. I know Elvis is feeling it. I know Selena is feeling it. I know many people feel it. Lisette probably less. Lisette is more of a driver like myself. So it's all about the action. Let's go. Okay, next, bottom line, next bottom line. But if you're not a driver, you have a lot more emotions and feelings. You need to be a little bit more careful about how you allow your emotions to lie to you. The people you're calling, when you call a FISBO, they don't care about you. You're not important. You are not important. When you call a FISBO, it's not about you. It's about your ability, if you have it, to help the FISBO, even to help them understand that they need an agent. Do you have the skill to verbalize scripts, to verbalize to a FISBO why it's better for them to choose an agent? I understand, Mr. Seller, that you're sick and tired of agents calling you. You prefer that a buyer would have called you and said, hey, I'll pay you full price tomorrow, cash, closing in 2 weeks. But chances of that happening are probably slim to none. Why don't you choose an agent that you like, someone you trust? That's a lot of conversation I can have. Even if I feel emotional about it, I will try to, and we spoke last week about the DISC and then how you can maneuver between the DISC profiles. I want you guys to understand right now, when you work on yourself to go from point A to point B, because you want to synchronize, become more successful, you need to synchronize with success. You got to look at yourself. Ask yourself in the mirror, what is it about being rejected by someone I don't know that bothers me? Why does it bother me? And bring some answers up. You need to do this with yourself. Why does it bother me when other people reject me? What does it even mean when they reject me? Why do I give meaning to, and you dive deep into it until you can see some logic about it, that it makes no sense to feel this way. And you need to resolve this problem before you can go back and make more phone calls and have a thicker skin. The thicker skin starts to become developed when you are doing more of it. You got to go more to the zone that you feel uncomfortable in. Get outside of your comfort zone. Let people make you feel rejected, and then analyze the feeling and analyze yourself and see why you are being. Look, if you want to become successful, you got to get rid of this feeling, because our job, look, all of you said the same stuff. It's a numbers game. I got to talking to more people. That's Wilfredo. Blocking the time to do it. That's, also something you got to do, blocking the time to do it. Okay. Follow-ups. I got to do more follow-ups. Wilfredo said it. Elvis said it. Okay, great. More follow-ups. And then consistent mailing and notes. Great. All that stuff is good. All that stuff needs to be taking place. But then the second question I want to send you home with, because it's already, what is that, 9:36. I want to let you guys go. What's this next question you need to ask? So first question was, do you know what to do that if you did a lot more of that, you'll become a lot more successful? You're going to answer the question. Each and every one of you know exactly what it is. The next question you need to ask yourself, why aren't you doing it? You don't need to answer me. You got to go to mirror. Why aren't I doing, why am I not doing more of what I know I need to do more? For example, I got to talk to more people. So what's the problem? Look, I'm a driver. Here's how a driver makes sense with stuff and logic. I sit down and I write it down. Okay, wait a second. Take a pen, paper, start writing down. Okay, so what do I need to do more? I got to call more people. Okay, I have a problem. What's the problem? I don't know who to call. Okay, so we need to resolve this problem. Okay, let's resolve this problem. I find a way to resolve the issue. Now I sign up with RedX or whatever. I got one of those companies. Now I have leads in front of me. Now I need to, okay, look, whatever excuse that I'm going to give myself, I'm going to resolve the excuse. I need headphones. I go Amazon and I buy headphones. Okay, great. Now I take all of the excuses away. And now I'm left with, I got to do it. Why aren't you doing what you already know that if you did, you'll make more money? You told me that you want to make more money. So why aren't you doing the stuff that needs to be done? That is really what you guys need to answer. If you're capable of answering that, you will become more successful just by answering it. You need to understand what it is. It can also, and Roy, you acknowledged a real feeling, which tells you, like the thicker skin, you don't like the rejection. Trust me, I don't like the rejection either. But we gotta go. I gotta go to point B. I gotta go. I can't sit here. So I'm not looking for any. All of that noise in the background of my head is there. It's Am I right? This is true about each and every one of you. And maybe because of that, you're like, I don't want to call people because I'm going to make them feel how I don't like to feel. That is holding you back from becoming more successful because you said it. You need to make more calls, and you know that you need to make more calls. But if you start believing and feeling these feelings, you're not going to make more calls. So you need to work on yourself, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. The synchronization is about you, is how you feel. Stop. How can I stop? Here's a question I would ask myself if I was Roy and anyone else who feels aligned with what he said. I'm going to ask myself, how can I ignore the feeling that I'm being rejected? This feeling that I don't, how can I ignore that feeling? What can I do to ignore this feeling? What can I do to ignore this feeling? I'm going to start writing some stuff down. I'm going to write down stuff down. And then I'm going to utilize what I do. You have the answers. You don't need anyone to tell you. You know yourself best. What do you need in order to stop feeling this feeling? Or what do you need in order to put the feeling aside and continue to go forward because you said you want to go to point B? Remember, slow and steady wins the race. It doesn't have to happen overnight. It's enough, Wilfredo, that normally you're not calling people. You haven't been in shape of calling, I understand. Make one phone call today. Call one person today that you don't know, you never did any business with, cold. Call a Facebook, call an expired listing, stop by an expired door. One cold conversation, have it today. Can you do one? Everybody can do one. Okay.
Of course.
So when we're done with this meeting, don't do anything else. The first thing you got to do is make this one contact. And you start slow and steady. Today I do one, tomorrow I do two, Thursday I do three, Friday I do four, next week, Monday I do five, Tuesday. Every day add one, until you get to a comfortable place. And then if you see yourself going backwards, begin again. Just look, the answer is don't quit and keep synchronizing. Understand what point B looks like. Understand what is needed of you. Understand the changes that you need to make in yourself in order to be able to go there. And that's really the secret. This is how you guys become more successful. I'll see you next week, 9 a.m.
I add
Thank you,
something.
Ron.
Yes, please, Selena.
Okay, so I know everybody needs to go. but I just need to add something very important. Last month, I read your book, Ron. I started reading your book when it came out, but for some reason I didn't finish. I read just the very beginning. So last month I read your whole entire book, and I have to say, in May, it's been 10 years that I'm doing real estate. I never found out what my why was until I read your book. I tried to figure out, and we went through this many times one-on-one, and I could never figure out. I thought it was, okay, let me have more money. I want a better house. I want this, I want that. I want comfort. I want to be able to give more, but it wasn't really that. But when I read your book, I don't know why, I don't know how, but that's when I found out my why, was when I read your book.
So when you find your why, what happens to you? Like, what's next?
Action.
What do you have more of when you find the why?
When I found out my why, honestly, that was when I started doing the things that I needed to do to accomplish my why. I started contacting people. I started booking lunches, breakfast, dinners, things that I haven't been doing for the past almost 2 years.
Who's paying for all of that?
Me.
Okay.
Because if I don't make the money, I cannot pay for it, right?
Look,
But
you can do probably 5 lunches for the price of a dinner.
if they come to my house, it's a little cheaper.
Yeah, that's true. If they come to your house, it's definitely, by the way, that's a great way of doing it. You're doing it with sphere of influence. So obviously you're not going to call a Fizbo and say, hey, I'm cooking dinner. Be here at
No.
7 o'clock. Although it might work. It might work.
If they want, they can. It's fine. But I just wanted to say,
Lisette, you're doing cold calling. Next cold call you're doing, if it's a lady, invite her for dinner. Tell us how it went next week.
so yeah.
So Selena, thanks for sharing. Look, everything that what we did today, the alignment, point A to point B, that's all about the why. You got to look at yourself. And by the way, when you know the why, nothing stops you.
No. And that's what you were talking about the rejection, the fear of rejection. And that's something that I always struggle with. But because I already know my why, I found out my why. It took me 10 years. Now I know what to do. And I don't give, I'm sorry, 2 craps about rejection anymore, because I know what's going to bring me. So thank you.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all.
All right. I'll see you guys next week, 9 a.m.
Bye.
Yeah,
Have a
see
great
you, Ron.
one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ram.
Bye
Bye, everyone.
for everything.